All right, let's talk about Avengers Endgame. And just for everybody that didn't watch the movie, there will be spoilers in here, so go watch the movie before you watch this review. So, Avengers Endgame. First of all, I think it is one of the greatest movies ever made. Period. It had the perfect combination of comedy, sadness. It had all the emotions that you wanted in a movie, but they were placed in the movie so strategically well that it complemented everything. There was not a single dry spot in the movie. If you catch my driving, I'm using weird lingo, whatever. The action in the movie. I mean, especially towards the end. Guys, if you haven't seen this, there will be spoilers. First of all, when Cap picked up the hammer and started using it with the shield, I was like, I was just thrown off I was just out of there. I was out of there, right? I mean, and then when Cap was watching Thanos bring his whole army over, and then you see Doctor Strange doing the his little magic trick, and everybody's walking through the dimension. Then you see Black Panther walk through. I was just like, oh my god, that shit was so far. And then you saw them trying to get the gauntlet to the van. That whole sequence was dope, and the women teaming up, like, this sequence was so dope. But then I was also really satisfied with watching Thanos whoop everybody. The whole question for me was, okay, can he do this without the Infinity Gauntlet? Can he take on everybody? Can he live up to his comic book counterpart? Man, dog, that shit was so far, especially with Captain Marvel, because my whole thing with Captain Marvel was like, I don't want to coming in there and taking over the show. And this is not me being anti-women or no, it's none of that. It's just we haven't seen her character develop, so it wouldn't make sense. The only logical person to do that would be Thor, and even then, I mean, Thanos was putting in work. I mean, especially when Thanos was putting the hammer to his chest and pressing it down. I was thinking, damn, they're gonna kill off Thor? Like, wow, okay. Yeah, and then the whole sequence with Captain Marvel and her grabbing the gauntlet and her powering up, and he just ripped the stone out the glove. And I was, I was like, that is so cool. Let's talk about the deaths though. Oh man! First of all, I wasn't expecting Black Widow to go. That was a big. I was shocked. I was honestly thinking Hawkeye was going to go because he's been the most useless Avenger so far. I honestly thought he was going to go. I honestly thought that Black Widow would take over as like the new Avengers, leader, and guide the new Avengers. Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel. So I honestly thought she would do that, but the way she sacrificed herself and she's not coming back. So I was like, wow, okay, that caught me off guard. And then Nebula killing her future self. Oh, or her past self. I'm sorry. Honestly, I wasn't really surprised about that. I mean, it wasn't like a big wow factor because Nebula hasn't really been like the a factor in these movies, really. So to me, it was like, cool, whatever. But Tony, I honestly thought that Cap was gonna go. There was two theories I had. One, Cap was going to not die and go back into the past and live his life. I said this many times before. Or he's gonna die against Thanos. And I sincerely thought he was going to die when Thanos was smashing away at his shield, which was another wow factor for me because the shield was made out of vibranium, and the shit that he was doing to the shield, I was just like, man, I was so happy with Thanos. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm so happy with Thanos. But I thought Cap was gonna go. I really did. And then Doctor Strange did the and I was like, damn, he's gonna die. Iron Man's gonna die. And he got the glove and he was like, I am Iron Man. I mean, that was just the whole sequence in itself could have been like a movie, right? But let's talk about the Easter eggs. Okay, first of all, when Black Widow was talking to Okoye, War Machine, Captain Marvel, Rocket, about what's going on in the world, after the snap 5 years later, whatever. Okoye said something very interesting. She said there's a whole bunch of earthquakes underneath the ocean, a whole bunch of tremors under Wakanda. Now, when you heard that, when I heard that, I instantly thought, okay, one or two things can happen. Either one, the earth has been flooded with cosmic energy, so the earth has been disturbed, or two, Namor is pissed off. And if you guys don't know who Namor is, Namor is basically the anti-hero version of Aquaman. Okay, so he's the leader of Atlantis, but sometimes he's villainous, sometimes he's good. So you don't know which side he's on on a certain days. Basically, he's Aquaman, but the anti version of him. So when Okoye said that, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna bring Atlantis. So my thing was, okay, so if Namor is in the MCU, then they're probably gonna bring him in Black Panther too, which would be very dope. Considering how what the Wakanda's mine for vibranium and stuff like that, and they get into the ocean and the pollution, and then Namor is getting pissed off. So I'm thinking to myself like, okay, that'll be a pretty interesting dynamic to see how two kings will face off, whatever. Let's talk about Ronan. Let's talk about Hawkeye. I honestly thought it was the funniest shit ever. How he lost his family, just start killing people. I mean, like there was, to me it was funny because it's like nobody else did that. So what gives you the right to go ahead and do that? And because to me, Clint really didn't have that much character development, so I didn't really feel attached to his character. It wasn't like if he died, it was expected. Like okay, he didn't have really you know a lot of character development. So, but Ronan, I don't know. I mean, he really didn't do much in this movie. He didn't do anything. The he didn't do anything. It was so. I mean, for me, it was like okay. I mean, if he dies, he dies. I mean, cool. Okay, so let's talk about Hulk. All right, Hulk. I knew. Okay, two things with Hulk. One, I'm thinking Hulk will turn into world breaking, world breaker Hulk, some shit like that. If you guys don't know what world breaker Hulk is in the comic books, basically the Illuminati, which is Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Namor, and Reed Richards and other smart guys. They turn to the Illuminati, whatever. This is right before Civil War. Okay, the events of Civil War, where all the superheroes fight over the Registration Act or whatever. So they decide that Hulk is too dangerous, right? So Thor and Hulk is too dangerous. So they launch Hulk into space, uh, and then Hulk lands on another planet. He becomes the leader on that planet, and then his ship blows up. Okay, so basically Hulk gets pissed off. He goes back to Earth. He goes through all the superheroes and all that. No superhero can stop him. And then it took the Century, which is basically Superman 2.0, to stop him. Anyway, I thought that would happen in terms of his, that form, especially after Black Widow died. I thought he would take that form, or he'll go into Professor Hulk, where he will merge his intellect with his brawn, and he'll become a complete monster or whatever. And I was right. He turned into Professor Hulk. It was dope seeing that. It was cool. I thought that it was a nice element to it. Just his interactions with the different Avengers, I thought was pretty unique. And I honestly thought he was going to get another crack at Thanos. I was hoping for that. I was like, okay, bro, you got your ass beat in the first movie. Go ahead and redeem yourself. But he didn't. So I was like, damn, everybody else got their piece except Hulk. So I was cool with that. Thor, funniest part of the movie. Thor was the funniest. Without Thor, that movie would not have been as funny as it was. Thor was hilarious. Okay, Thor was funny. I enjoyed Thor. Uh, Fat alcoholic. I mean I enjoyed Thor. Um, he People say that they ruined his character. I thought that it's an added element. And I thought it was necessary because if you think about it, Thor lost everything. He lost his brother, his father, his mother, his best friend, the Warriors 3, his home world, half his population. So I mean, the dude's emotional mental wreck, like being issues for a minute. So being an alcoholic, him being fat and all that. I mean, it's understandable. So for me to see that on film, it's like, okay, cool. But I mean, he was just so funny. Like it was just funny the way they went about it. All right, so I enjoyed that. Now, let's go in Captain America. Captain America, you really saw, okay. Captain America, character wise, was moving towards being a selfish character. Tony Stark was moving towards being a selfless character, which I thought was dope because when you saw Iron Man 1, he was all about himself. When you saw about Captain America 1, he was all about others. So for them to switch positions like that was pretty cool. Captain America, in terms of his mindset in the movie, was like, we're going to get this, we're going to get everybody back no matter what it takes. So he dropped all his values. I mean, he was in the elevator when they time traveled. um oh, I'm moving ahead of myself. Let me speak in his character. He, character wise, you saw a drastic change. You saw him finish with everything. You saw him tired, exhausted. You saw him willing to get you saw him willing to do whatever it takes to get everybody back. Because in the scene where he was sitting down and counseling, I think, or like counseling or some shit like that, you saw him say that, everybody has to move on at some point, but you see this long pause in his face, and you saw him contemplating, about what was going to happen, and you saw him contemplating about what he just said. So, at the end of the movie, it made sense. All right, so for him to take the suitcase and then go back and then not come back, and then you just see him on the bench, old and so it made sense to me. Um, and he was putting that work in at Thanos. I mean, look, man. I thought Thor. Look, look. That was probably the dopest part of the movie when Cap was putting that work with the hammer and the shield. That was probably just, I mean, using the lightning and everything. I was just like, that was so cool. Um, Black Widow. Okay, the whole movie, depressed, shut in, couldn't handle what happened. I mean, she was okay. If you guys watched all the Marvel movies, you would see the characters progress. All right. So Iron Man, when he first started, Tony Stark, when he first came out, he was selfish, playboy, narcissistic, and all the characteristics of someone you don't want to be with, right? And Steve Rogers, the perfect human, the America's hero, and upstanding morals, ethics, all that good shit. Black Widow, assassin, get the job done, whatever it takes, covert, undercover, you don't know where her angle is. Thor, the arrogant, brash, rebellious, and then Hulk, still trying to cope with what he has, uncomfortable. So to see all those characters, oh, and Hawkeye, Hawkeye, like I said, he didn't have much character development. I'm gonna skip him. So everybody comes over from their first origin film into this movie, and you see the character development. It's a really great part of the franchise that I love is the character development and the stories that they've been told. So Black Widow, she comes from, I wouldn't say she wasn't happy all the time. I would say she was more of a driven, goal-oriented character. Now you see her in Endgame, she's straight up depressed, shut in, and doesn't know what to do, and lost all hope. And so for her to do what she did, and I was like, it makes sense, but I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that. I was not. I was expecting how I was like, please, dude, you have been useless this entire thing. Just go. But she died, and she's not coming back. And I honestly thought, I honestly thought that after Cap, returned the Soul Stone, that she would come back. But then I looked at it was recapped the movie in my mind. It was like, hold on, once you exchange a soul for the Soul Stone, you ain't coming back. Like Gamora, she ain't coming back. So I mean, it was like, okay, so she's really not coming back. Um, so I also thought they would bring Vision back. Vision wasn't here, so he's really gone. So I was like, damn. I mean, there's some real stakes in this movie. So I was happy to see that. Um, Tony Stark, dude, I was not expecting him to die. Honestly, I was expecting him and Black Widow to be like the head of the new Avengers, and for him to retire the suit and just to mentor Spider-Man and all the Nova, whoever else comes. I was not expecting him to do that. Dopest part of the movie, though. Dopest part of the movie, where he had the glove and he was like, I am Iron Man. Dopest part of the movie. So that, like I said, the character development in Iron Man 1, you would have never caught him doing that. Selfish, brash, arrogant, narcissistic, all of that. So to see him come from that to come to do this, best character in the entire franchise by far. I mean, best character in the franchise. Um, he, you saw him extremely depressed. You saw him, when they first got off the ship after he got saved by Captain Marvel in the beginning of the movie, you saw him approach Cap like, dude, we needed you. Like, dude, where were you? Like we needed you. Like, where were you? And you saw him going on this rant about how he should have had the suits all over the world. Which now looking back, it was like, yeah, that would have helped a little bit. That would have helped with the Iron Man initiative and whatnot. And you saw him sick and skinny, and then they approached him about Ant-Man comes back from the quantum realm, and the team comes over and they approach him, about going to quantum realm and time traveling to get the stones back, and they're putting it back where they belong if they were finished. And he was like, no, and lost all hope, and started a family, so he was comfortable. But then you still saw him trying to figure out how to do that, and he did. And then he asked Pepper, she was like, would you live with yourself, basically? And so his selflessness in this movie was way greater than Cap's. I mean, like Cap, Cap was straight up. You can tell he was like, I'm done with this whole thing. I just want my own life, and Tony had a life, and he was like, I want to save everybody. I thought that was pretty dope. My take on this movie in terms of where would I rank this movie? Okay, so in no particular order: Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, Doctor Strange, Winter Soldier. Top 5. And I say those movies because each of those movies, Black Panther was a cultural moment. Infinity War, you saw the bad guy actually win. The only time I actually saw that in a superhero movie was The Dark Knight, when Joker actually won. He turned Two-Face into a villain. He got Batman demonized. He tore Gotham apart. Like, that's when you saw the bad guy actually win. This Infinity War, you saw the bad guy win, which I like to see that, because I don't like to see the good guy win every time based off of plot or some bullshit, right? So Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War. I mean, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was dope. The visual effects, the storytelling, just the whole idea of using different energies from the universe and all that. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's top five. Um, all the other movies, Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm not really fans of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean they're cool, but I mean it's like they don't hold me like that. Thor, Thor one was okay. Thor two is probably the worst Marvel movie made. So I'm not even gonna. Ragnarok was dope. I like Ragnarok. Iron Man one is in the conversation for the best Marvel movies too. Iron Man three not so much. Iron Man two not so much. Um, what other movie? Spider Man Homecoming was dope. Civil War was dope. But the five movies I mentioned, they held my attention because of the storyline, the cohesiveness, and the character development. All the other movies were just for the action and all that. But each of these movies blended in the action with the storytelling and the whys and the hows. And it was just very dope in how they came about. So those are my top five in no particular order. But let's go to, we're still on Endgame. Let's go to Nebula. She's one of the characters that developed too, even though no, actually you did see her in other Avengers movies. But her character development, I thought was pretty dope. I thought was like, okay, she comes from this trying to please her father to like, screw this. I don't love him anymore. I'm gonna join the Avengers and you know, try to make this shit better, right? So to see her meet her future self or her past self and try to tell her like you have a choice in the matter, you have a choice. You have your own life, and to see her kill herself, it was like okay. Well, first of all, does that create a paradox, or does that erase you because you killed your past self? So I still have questions about that, but so I know I'm jumping back and forth, but I'm just really recapping the movie after I saw it. So but overall, the movie's a 10 out of 10. I would say it's one of those movies that you can watch over and over again. There's not the only problem I had with it, in terms of a logical point, was the very last scene with Steve Rogers, Captain America. It was like, okay, if you went back in time and you stayed there, okay, so if you guys remember in Civil War, when Peggy died, you saw pictures of her family. You didn't see who the father was. If you remember that, he was on her bedside and she was on the bed, and you saw pictures of her family. Um, um, you know, and first of all, my mind was like, well, who's the father? And so for him to go back, that I was kind of like, oh. Now, if that's the case, if the writers or the directors or Kevin Feige come out and say, and explain that, I'm like, okay, that's some dope storytelling. Or that's just a dope coincidence that, whatever. That's how I think. But anyway, so there's a lot of questions that pop up. So if he went back in time as an old man, first of all, that goes against everything that he stands for. In the comic, he still has responsibility here. Captain America is supposed to stand for, selflessness, the American way, all that hoopla. If that's okay, even even though you are not able to go back to your time and live, you're supposed to stay here in the present, wherever timeline you are at, take care of your responsibilities or whatever, and be the leader you are supposed to be. For you to go back, take the stones, and just chill in the past with Peggy, grow old, right, and then just appear, on the bench or whatever, on the seat, hand the shield over to Falcon, which I thought was pretty dope. I thought he was going to hand it to Bucky, but he handed it to Falcon. It was like, so did you let Hydra take over? Did you stop the Winter Soldier? Did you meet your past self? No, first of all, he couldn't meet his past self because he was still frozen in the ice. So did you stop Hydra? Did you still meet Howard Stark? Did you meet there's a lot of things that were inconsistent with that. But I mean, it's a movie, so I wasn't really thinking logically at that point. So it was like, eh. I mean, that was kind of like a okay, cool. You know, he got his happy ending. Like that's okay. Um, so that was my biggest pet peeve, if you call it. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, the whole movie's a 10 out of 10. Besides that, the you there's not a single dry spot. The whole movie had your attention. Like you could not go to the bathroom. Like I couldn't move. The character development for every character was amazing. I mean, I was content. I was satisfied. But the battle sequence at the end, that was some Lord of the Rings stuff and all that. So, um, so yeah, everything about that movie you have to go see. If you didn't see it already and you're still watching this, I mean that's your fault. I mean that's not mine. I already told you at the beginning of the video that you have to go see it. All right, there's gonna be spoilers. So what else can I talk about this movie? What else can I talk about? Nick Fury, no, Captain Marvel. I'm happy Captain Marvel did not take over the movie. I'm so happy. And like I said at the beginning, not because she's a woman, it's because she doesn't have character development. So if she just comes in there as the strongest Avenger, which she's really not in the comic books. In the comic books, she's like a D-list superhero. She gets her ass beat by everybody. She got her ass beat by Absorbing Man. If you don't know who that is, go watch the cartoon. You know what I'm talking about. And you one movie and all of a sudden you coming in here and you kicking ass. No, I don't know. I was hoping she didn't do that, and she didn't. She got her ass beat by Thanos. That was dope. That was dope because you saw. I honestly thought she was going to take the glove off. I was like, oh shit, she's. And then he just ripped the Power Stone and just hit her. I was just like, damn, damn. But Captain Marvel, in terms of the presence, it was like she wasn't needed. I felt like she wasn't really needed. She wasn't really needed. You already had Thor and Captain America. And they were both putting it. Now, mind you, Thor had two hammers. Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. He had two weapons that he didn't use. I mean, that he used. I'm sorry, excuse me. But Thanos was still putting in that work. I, I was just like, yo, this is what I wanted to see. This is the Thanos I wanted to see. Without the gauntlet, just straight up. Just straight up Braun. I wanted to see him fight. I mean, I was not disappointed. This dude was just demolishing everything. And he would have snapped his fingers too. He would have done it again if it wasn't for Captain Marvel. So I thank you for that. But you still got your ass beat. So yeah, I'm just there's no structure to the video. I'm just going over. This is my review. This is my recap. The whole movie was great. It was funny. It was sad. It had its emotional ups and downs. So very well put together. This and The Dark Knight, top 5 superhero movies for sure. I mean, like I mean, Dark Knight was fantastic because not only did the Joker win, but you saw his perspective. You saw where he was coming from, and it was like he had no plan. He was just causing mayhem, and they couldn't stop him. That was just, and his portrayal, Joker's portrayal. I mean, it was just great. I'm excited to see the Joker movie. But back to Endgame. Just everything about the movie, just all, and it didn't feel bloated. It didn't feel like the characters were taking up too much space. Everybody had a role to play. Everybody had a role to play, and everybody had their time to shine in their moments. It was very cohesive. It didn't feel like too much. It felt like one unit, which I thought was great. Because the Justice League movie, I thought was just messy and over the top and no cohesiveness. Nothing stuck. This movie, everyone stuck, and especially in the ending scene, it was just phenomenal. I was just, yo, fan service at its finest. Like that shit was just incredible. Excuse my language, but fantastic movie. You have to go see it if you haven't seen it already. I'm gonna go watch it again. 10 out of 10. I have no idea how they're gonna do the next Avengers. My take on the next villain of Avengers, it has to be Galactus. And what I was hoping for before Galactus, before even Thanos, I was hoping that they would bring in the scrolls. If you didn't watch Captain Marvel, you wouldn't have no idea what I'm talking about. If you do, I was hoping that the scrolls would actually be the bad guys for the next Avengers or the next Black Panther, right? Because my thing was like this. Okay, so after Endgame, you would still have the void of the Black Panther or whatever, and the scrolls would come in and imitate Black Panther and Shuri and different heads of state. And then at the end of the Black Panther, and then another Avengers, whatever, they revealed to be, infiltrating the Avengers, Shield, Hydra, whatever. I thought then the Secret Wars, and I thought that would be pretty dope. That would be before Thanos, and then Thanos comes in with the Infinity Gauntlet. But I mean, hey, that's just me. I thought that'd be pretty interesting. But since you made the scrolls good, you took that out of the equation completely. Like there's completely. So I was like, that's an element you could have used. But the logical answer for the next big villain, big baddie, whatever, Galactus. Has to be. Either Galactus or Doctor Doom. I would prefer Galactus. I would prefer Galactus. Or you could have the heart of the universe being used by somebody. If you don't know what the heart of the universe is, if you thought the Infinity Gauntlet was bad, go check out what the heart of the universe can do. It's basically the universe in the palm of your hand. The Infinity Gauntlet was the aspects of the universe. So time, soul, mind, reality, power, reality. Those are the aspects of it. The heart of the universe is straight up the powers of the universe and the universe itself in your hand. So I would really like to see that in a movie. I would really like to see the Living Tribunal, the Beyonder. Who else would I like to see? I would just like to see more and more celestial beings and shit like that. I think that would be a very interesting move on Marvel's part. And I kind of thought that one of them would appear in the movie. So I was kind of waiting for that, but I was like, nah, if they did that, that'd have been too much for the non-hardcore fan. And even for I wouldn't call myself a hardcore fan. I call myself, I enjoy the movies. Even then, I would be like, in terms of a storytelling perspective, I'd be like, nah, that's too much. But I would really love to see the Beyonder. If you don't know the Living Tribunal. Basically, the Living Tribunal. If you're a comics fan, whatever, basically second to none. He answers to the one above all, which is God in the Marvel Universe. So he's the most powerful being. Nothing can stop him. Nothing can stop the Living Tribunal. Straight up the will of the one above all. So he is the aspect of the multiverse. Not the universe, the multiverse. Like all the Marvel universes. Like he is. All right, cool. I would love to see him in the movie. I would love to see the Celestials, who basically created the superhuman gene, whatever. I would love to see the Sentry, Blue Marvel. I would love to see Namor. I would love to see who else would I love to see in a Marvel movie? Hyperion. I would love to see the Mutants. I would love to see Wolverine in the MCU. I would love to see Cyclops in the MCU. Gambit in the MCU. Fantastic Four. So hopefully Phase 4 brings in all these characters. And they do them well. The last reiterations of those characters sucked. Lack for a better term. They sucked. Okay. So I hope that these later portrayals of these characters are well done, and they cater to the fans, right? Because we want to see that. We want to see those character portrayals. So besides the Dark World, there has not been a single bad Marvel movie. So, I hope they're portrayed well. But and I'm just talking now. But my review of the movie, it was great. You got to go see it. It's one of those movies where it's not overhyped. It's straight up, as people say, like it's a great movie. It's a great movie. You thought Infinity War was good. This movie was fantastic. I mean, and again, for me, I don't like to see the bad guy. I mean, the good guys always winning. That's why when I saw Dark Knight, I was just like, that's one of the greatest movies ever made. That's why when I saw Black Panther, I was like, this is up there too, because you saw Killmonger. Killmonger really won if you think about it. But that's another topic for another day. Um, but yeah, I think that you know, Infinity War, Endgame. Yeah, I would love to see how they tackle the next Avengers movie because I honestly can't see another Avengers movie being better than Endgame. Just the stakes and the action and the plot, I just can't see it. I can't see it. I can't see it. So again, this is my review. Go see it if you haven't seen it. If you watch this whole thing without watching the movie, shame on you. But I mean, hey. So this is my take. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you later. See you soon. Whatever. Later.